Hi, I'm Hannah, and welcome to 500 Breads, my channel where I'm on a mission to bake 500 different kinds of bread from my little mountain town kitchen. Today, we're going to be baking focaccia using the recipe from Claire Saffitz's amazing book, Dessert Person. I'm going to be adding some kimchi and green onion on top to give it a nice, spicy, savory kick. If you would like to follow along with me as I bake the next 494 breads, subscribe to my channel. I've warmed this water over low heat. It's about 105 degrees on an instant read thermometer. Adding it to the mixing bowl along with my yeast. I'm gonna give it a little stir. And now I'm gonna leave this for about 5 minutes to get nice and foamy. Now I'm adding water, flour, and salt. I also had some very lively sourdough starter, and even though it wasn't in Claire's recipe, I could tell that it wanted to be involved, so I'm adding a half cup of that as well and mixing until the dough is smooth. We then let it rest for 10 minutes and then turn it back on and mix for an additional 12 minutes. Now I'm adding olive oil to a bowl and transferring the dough into it. And Claire suggests using your fingertips to add some of the oil across the surface of the dough. Now we'll cover this with a towel and let it rise in a warm place for an hour and a half. I'm gonna add 1 cup of kimchi to this focaccia, and kimchi is quite watery and I want to avoid it contributing to a soggy surface on the bread, so I'm just gonna squeeze out some of the excess moisture. And I'm gonna reserve this liquid and use it in a stir fry tonight. Then I'm roughly chopping the pieces of kimchi. Next, I'm gonna use my scissors to chop up 4 green onions. Now I'm oiling my cast iron pan, and focaccia is typically made in a sheet pan, but my favorite local bakery in Revelstoke where I live makes a round focaccia, and every time I'm in there, I'm always eyeballing it on the shelf and thinking about making my own, so I thought I would try it today. Gonna make sure that we get the oil all the way up the sides of the cast iron. Now I'm gonna stretch the dough, which if you make sourdough, you would be familiar with, and Claire explains that this gives more structure to the dough, so it'll rise higher when baked. After the last stretch, I'm transferring the dough to the oiled cast iron pan and stretching it out with my fingers to the edges, and then we'll let it rest for 15 minutes covered with plastic wrap. Now we stretch it out to the edges a second time and cover again for a longer rise of 50 minutes. Now for a really fun part, we get to dimple the dough. To top, we add some more olive oil across the surface. And then I'm evenly distributing my kimchi, then the green onions, and finally some Maldon sea salt because it makes everything better. Now we'll pop this in the oven for about 27 minutes. Here we have it, kimchi and green onion focaccia. I'm really happy with how this focaccia turned out. The green onions are a little bit charred on top and they're nice and crispy. The kimchi really mellowed out as it baked. I think next time I might use a spicy kimchi and might use like a half cup more. Really delicious, really nice soft texture and a crispy bottom, and can't wait to try this with some different toppings. Thank you for joining me today as I made focaccia with kimchi and green onions. That was bread number 5 out of my ambitions to bake 500 different kinds of bread. If you want to follow along with this journey, subscribe below, and I'll see you next time.